It'll be real simple. This talk is probably way too hot, like low level for most of the people in this room. But that's kind of what we wanted. We want to make sure, every now and then, you want to make sure that nobody in the community is the weak cattle kind of being left behind to the gazelle that's going to get pounced on by a hyena. Just in case, you know, anybody's ever been afraid of tweaking their phones. Really, we wanted to make this so straightforward that you're like, holy fuck, it's really not hard. There's nothing to be scared of. Nothing at all.
And that's actually one of the things that when we got the phones from the ninjas, that was really cool about it, because I hadn't done a whole lot of hacking on my phone because I was afraid I would mess my phone up. But since they gave me one, it didn't really matter if I messed it up. So I'm like, screw it, let's figure stuff out.
It's like not your work phone.
Yeah,
no one can
exactly.
yell at you.
So
that's the deal. The whole inspiration for this is the fact that a lot of our friends, and a lot of us included, like we got these badass phones at DEF CON this year. And I'm going to bet at least 3/4 of them are probably still just sitting on people's desks or on a shelf. And some of that is, oh, I'm afraid to like hack my phone. And some of that is, this was this awesome thing and I don't ever want to lose. It's like, I want to put it in a frame because I don't want to lose the ninja-iness of the phone. And as you'll see, none of that's a problem.
Or you don't want to be drunk and drop it on the sidewalk like I did last night. So.
Sucks.
No longer pristine.
We have to absolutely, like, we'll thank the ninjas a lot. As you'll see, we'll give a little background in case you don't know who Ninja Network's crew is. We also want to thank both Lady Merlin and Banshee for donating their ninja phones to be, you know, tweaked with as we do this. And everyone else who's going to try this, we thank you for being bold and joining in. So we're going to give you a little background. We're going to show you the tools that a lot of Android hackers use. And then you'll realize that once you understand how shit works, you really don't need all the tools, especially not if this is your first phone hack. There's an all-in-one toolkit, and we'll bang you right through all the unlock, change the recovery image, change the ROM if you want, and some useful apps. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the ninja parties and just who the ninjas were and why they rule?
Yeah, I mean, I think it speaks for itself. That's obviously a lot of fun. I mean, it's really weird if you think back for the years that they did the Ninja Party. When you go back to the first ones, it was, Barcode walking around with a little sticker that he would put on your DEF CON badge. And then it grew into this giant thing where everybody wanted to be at their party. And then they started trying to outdo themselves every year. So, I mean, the first year that they did the electronic badges, basically there wasn't a whole ton of functionality except you could, make it say what you wanted it to say and play with it that way. Then DEF CON 18, they had the game, and that's the badge that is probably one of the coolest badges ever created for anything at DEF CON.
Yeah, they would see each other.
Yeah, and so you'd sit there, and as you're walking down the hall, all of a sudden you'd hear your badge go off because somebody's attacking you in the game. And the really neat thing about it is it didn't require any backbone whatsoever. So, like, you could take it home, and if you were went to work with people that also had one, you could take it to work and still play it after you were at home. We did it when we had the Bandland blowout, when we got rid of our practice space. We just told everybody that had one that was coming to the party to bring their ninja badge with them, and we ended up sitting there playing all night, attacking each other with the game. So it was a really cool, fun toy. And my assumption was there is no way they are ever going to be able to outdo themselves.
Like 19 was more processing power, and the badge was actually more technical, but there was still a spot in everyone's heart for this one.
Yeah, I mean, this was a crazy awesome badge.
But then DEF CON 20 rolled around, and if any of you were at DEF CON this year, you saw that there was a fucking phone van. And some people were like, oh, wow, it's kind of like 2600-ish. Like, they have like a van. That's kind of cool. And then you learned what it actually was. It wasn't just, hey, we've got helmets on. Like, they had a fully functioning GSM licensed network just for DEF CON, which they paid way too much money to the FCC for.
It was really actually kind of funny because they don't tell anybody what their plans are ahead of time. They want it to be kind of a surprise. I get a call from Barcode maybe 10 days before DEF CON, and he's like, hey, we need to bring a van into the vendor area. I'm like, I'm not sure if the Rio is going to let you bring a van into the vendor area or not. So we ended up having to do all that coordination, and Rio was actually really cool about it and let them bring it in, obviously.
Yeah.
What really sucked about it was if you were trying to use your real phone, they just stomped all over AT&T. AT&T was absolutely useless inside at DEF CON this year.
Because these were full, like they had SIM cards, they had a whole account. It was like a cell phone store. You enrolled in their network.
Yeah.
They took your picture, you picked a phone number that you wanted. Then all the phones would sync, and everyone who had a Ninja phone, you could see everyone else, and they were like the old Ninja game was back. There were all these chat services, Boo's phone, and it's just Boo's phone. But it was pretty much the coolest thing that anyone could ever imagine. And they went out on a super high note, and they said, this is their last year ever, and everyone gets to go home with all these memories of year after year, and now some people are going home with these phones. And we want you guys to be able to understand these are badass phones. They're really nice. It's not like they just said, boy, we got to get 600 or so of these. Let's get something cheap. These are serious fucking business, and they dropped a lot of money. You can look up the specs yourself on Phone Scoop. It may be that you have a phone on your shelf right now that is way better than the phone you're using every day. And you should use it. You should check it out, and then you could be like, "Bam, bitches."
Well, the one thing that I like about it, I started using the Ninja phone as my primary phone basically the weekend after DEF CON, and the specs are nice. You're absolutely right, but I mean it's a single core, and it's not as strong as like say my Galaxy S2. But the battery life is freaking awesome. It's the only Android phone I've ever had that actually is usable for more than a day, because without the battery just being useless. So.
Yeah. If you don't know the amount of money they threw at this one, they left no chips on the table, but it was unreal. So really quick, if you've never done any Android hacking or tweaking or unlocking or anything like that, you'll really quickly learn if you browse around the community. There are basically two tools that you're ever going to use for 90% of your shit. And it's ADB, the Android Debug Bridge, and Fastboot. ADB is just a tool where remotely connected your phone to a computer, you can do a lot of simple commands. You can push files to it. You can push files onto the file system where it's not always easy to get if you're just on the phone itself. You can grab things off. You can drop to shell. So if you have any background with any Linux environments, you can just shell into your phone and run commands manually that way. When you have a full keyboard, it's nicer than trying to run, terminal emulator. And you can install stuff. You can install packages. You can, turn signing on and off. And of course, there's logging and other things like that. It's really, really convenient. There's another tool called Fastboot, which you see people using more nowadays. When phones support it, this is a special mode you can boot into. Because right now, if I'm fully booted, my phone's in an OS environment, running Android, and I'm answering calls, I can drop to ADB. I can still shell and I can do all that. Fastboot is even more stripped down, and if your phone supports it, you boot into Fastboot mode, and you can run other commands. You can really clobber all over the file system because there's not a lot of checking involved. So it's a little more powerful, even though it's simpler, and it's a little more dangerous. But don't worry about that. It's very hard to really trash your phone completely.
Yeah, and actually that's one of the things that we're going to talk about, and we're going to actually try and do this on stage because live demos never fail. But one of the really neat things about this particular phone is the fact that it is HTC, and HTC, of all the Android manufacturers, they really are much more supportive of you hacking the crap out of the phone. Yeah. I mean, it's a nightmare trying to do it on a Samsung, but
or Motorola.
Motorola is even worse.
They actively they bitch at the users. They're why do you want to do this?
But yeah, the HTCs are ridiculously hackable and very easy to hack. And the key thing there is once you have completed one step, then you almost cannot brick the phone at that point. Yeah. It's once you go ahead.
We're going to spend 10 minutes trying to get the first step to make sure it works the right way. And once it is, everything else is fine.
At that point, there's no way you can screw it up. I mean, because even if you screw it up, you can get out of what you screwed up.
Yeah, and we'll explain why that is. This is my little tip of the hat to a tool that I love, that I always have on me. If you don't have a small dual head USB cable, you are not the kind of hacker you should be. They cost nothing. You can buy them online or buy them I've seen them in shops and everything. Keep one of these in your pocket and it'll pay for itself one day when you're the person at some party or at some bar where someone's like, oh, my phone's dying. You're like, bam. And even if they have old tech we all like to have new, you've got one right there? Oh, that that is the fanboy attachment to it, so that's less cool in this one, but that's okay. But yeah, we all think like, oh, my devices are all new. There's always some horseshit device that still uses Mini, like some GPS thing, or I have like a little portable speaker. It's nice to have, because you feel like a real douche carrying a Mini cable around for no reason. And you're like, oh God, I really want to shove this up some animal's ass. Like, but this, you get to have one sticking around for no reason at all, and it's fucking wonderful. Please have these on you. So, if you don't know, almost every phone can be thrown into a different style of booting by holding buttons down when you start up. In the HTC family, it's almost always volume down. That's you're like hitting delete or F10 when you're booting up a computer. It'll throw you into a bootloader mode. And here we see something like that here. We even have one, on the desk that's in the same mode. And the camera is way too washed out, but you get the idea. You can see from this mode, you can see a few things that we'll talk about. Right now, this is showing as a locked bootloader. It's also clearly a phone that supports fast boot. So if you can nav up and down with volume buttons, you can hit power to enable certain functions. So you could throw a phone into fast boot, and then if you plug it into your computer, the computer's going to try to search for drivers, which is sometimes a bit of a pain in the ass. But again, there's one guy, you'll see one guy made this whole process so easy. So what is this bootloader thing? The bootloader is, if you want to think of it as basically your computer's BIOS, it is the first thing the phone will always execute in the background when it's starting up. When the device starts, it always has this, even if you see a nice splashy whatever from your provider, there's always this bootloader running. And whether a bootloader is locked or unlocked is the manufacturer's decision. Whether it will only run signed code that they're expecting to see, or if you can throw other shit on there. That's the first thing in this case that we're going to have to do. You have to have an unlocked bootloader to do anything else. And that's not the same as Romer will describe as rooting. That's something completely else.
Right. I mean, if you, and a lot of people don't actually realize that just because you unlock the bootloader, that doesn't mean that you have root on your phone. So you actually have to, and we were kind of talking about this yesterday too, you have to make the decision of whether or not you actually do want to root your phone or not. There are legitimate reasons not to do it. For one thing, you're doing it because you're using malicious code to intentionally exploit the device. That's what you're doing on it. So having that hanging around on your phone is not always the best idea in the world. But if you decide not to root your phone, then you're not going to have the level of control that you have if you root it. Like we were talking about it specifically yesterday, the Sunday Ticket app for your phone. It won't work on a rooted device. I don't know why, but they specifically won't allow it to work on a rooted device.
Pretty crazy.
So like my stupid Nexus 7, I don't have rooted because I actually want to be able to watch Sunday Ticket on the app. So, but with my phone, I want to.
That's a football reference for those of you who don't understand that. All right. And all these functions are toggleable. You can lock your bootloader back up if you want for some reason. You can root your phone to install and tweak and remove a lot of bloat that you don't want from the menu, and then you can unroot it so that you feel more secure. And those are both completely separate functions. One is low-level boot level. One is the Android environment itself. Separate from both of that, but tied very closely to a lot of phone hacking, is the idea of the recovery. Many phones also have a recovery mode. It's for restoring back to factory defaults. It's what a cell phone store will try to get into if you fuck up your phone. They'll go into recovery, and they'll push back out some other image they can do. You can hack and replace your recovery image with something else. So instead of launching the manufacturer's default recovery environment, you launch, for example, what we'll talk about later called Clockwork is a very popular recovery hack. We made this joke the other day when we were telling people about this, that in the Android world, there's usually like the one best awesome thing that somebody's hacked up that everyone loves. Then there's a couple like little, there's like people in this discussion thread, they're like, this one's not bad too. I tried this on my secondary phone. And then there's a bunch of like projects that somebody has forever in an alpha, and they're broken, and like maybe someone's gonna update it one day, and they have the most feverish devotees that like they'll comment in a thread, be like, you can do that with Sammy Susu's fucking mod tools. And you're like, that's great. The thing that's like from a rapid share link in Russia and doesn't have any comments in the last 6 months, yeah, you have fun with that. So like the super divine of all things recovery mod is Clockwork Mod. Somebody else showed us a really neat one the other day. It was more GUI-ish. I'm sure it might be nice. It's probably in the second tier. But we'll show you what recovery modding does to your phone as well. And all of this is separate from the ROM environment, the actual Android OS environment that you can switch around. You can keep the stock one. There's plenty of replacement ROMs, whether you want the manufacturer's one or a community-built one or some hybrid. And once you have, various recovery tools, you can have just whole separate images. You can multi-boot the phone in different ways. They're all separate things that you can tweak separately.
And like the ROM that we're going to use in this one is the one that we hacked together. And we basically took the stock ROM and replaced all of the boot up animations with the Ninja animations. So you still have a functioning device, but it still will do all the NinjaTel, the load and the power down. And also, we wanted the apps because we thought their apps were cool. And we've got some folks that are actually trying to build a backbone to support the apps so that if people are doing this, they'll actually be able to play the Ninja game on their phone, whereas right now you don't have a backbone for it, but we're working on it. But the really cool thing about this whole process was there were about 10 of us that were sitting there basically in 10 different states on Twitter doing this one night. And everybody had a different thing of exactly how they wanted the phone to be when they were done. Mm-hmm. And every single one of us got it exactly the way we wanted, which is really cool if you think about it, to have something that's that customizable. Try doing that with your shitty iPhone 5.
Right. So most of us were doing this all manually. And we were using ADB and fast food and just kind of poking commands at each other. And hey, I got mine to finally wake up and do this. And then I think, did you find the Hassoun kit or who? Somebody posted
no,
this.
Some kid, I don't even know who he is. It's like
he's tweeted, I guess.
Yeah, he tweeted it, and I'm like, holy crap, man! I want to buy you a beer if I ever see you. This is perfect.
So tell them about this fucking amazing thing.
Basically, the really cool thing about the all-in-one kit is exactly that. Everything that you need to do is to root your phone, to unlock the bootloader, to install ROMs, everything that you want is basically made so that an imbecile can do it. It's point and click. I want to do that. I mean, look, install HTC drivers, and then it tells you exactly what to do, and then go.
Yeah, I love this thing. It's even, it uses all the same tools. It uses ADB and Fastboot. It calls it up. But it's all pre-scripted. It could not be any simpler. So for example, like the drivers, normally getting the phone drivers to work, there's always 3 or 4 threads in any subforum on Android forums. Someone's like, oh, I'm gonna root the phone, and there's 5,000 people saying, where are the drivers? Can I get the drivers? Who has the drivers? A bunch of sketchy links. HTC's pretty good about this. They have HTC Sync. So once you install that, which has some other just functionality. Do you want to sync your home photos to your blah, 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 blah? But the drivers are just in there. But again, they're on the toolkit that we have, but fuck it, why not? It's in Hassoun's kit. Just blam, would you want to do this thing? Blam, there you go. If you're not getting the drivers to work, it's Windows, it's not you. It's just reboot Windows a few times. Windows is being fussy. Eventually, they'll work. And
that's the one thing that I wanted to point out here too. You can do this through a Windows VM, which with like Samsung, it's a pain in the ass if you're not using a native machine to do it. It'll sometimes soft break your phone. But the HTC drivers, you're good to go using a Windows VM, which is a lot more fun.
So you've got the drivers, and hopefully the phone is waking up. Now the phone is ready to talk to your computer if you want to execute commands in ADB or in Fastboot. So that's the next thing we got. We got the all-in-one kit. All right, register at HTC Dev. You hit it, it automatically pops the link. The one time you have to hit an external site is to get a unique identifier, a unique key for your phone to unlock the bootloader. So you populate, some fields, you create an account. You can make up a name, but you do need an email address that works. Because once you're activated, once you log in, it'll take you to a page where you can manually just go unlock bootloader. And you'll select what device you're using. HTC only wants to know who's doing it from the standpoint of if they really want it to be dicks, they can change your warranty terms. They can say, look, technically this does void your warranty. I've never actually known them to if you bring an HTC device in the store for repair, I've never really known them to be like, hey, unlock bootloader, tell that guy to fuck right off.
You know, I've heard the stories that people get screwed by the providers, by their carriers, but I've taken rooted devices to them that were still in warranty period that are fucked up, and they've never given me a problem.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, these are better because they don't have the counter, but like, you know, my Galaxy has a counter of the number of times that I've put different ROMs on there and everything. It's like at 30 or some shit. But they don't, they didn't care.
Yeah.
I had to get it replaced right before DEF CON this year, and they were just like, oh, here you go.
So the HTC site will even step you through all the ADB and fastboot commands. It even says download this, plug the phone in now, run this. Like, this is how you go Control R and type CMD. Like, it's real. They want new people to try this. Eventually, though, you'll get to a screen like this, just a screen that says, what is my device's unique token? If you're doing with the Hasoon kit, just blam, 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 next, 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 until you get to this screen. Because the Hasoon kit, which, let me see if we, this phone, we're going to try to run it from here in a second. The Hasoon kit will actually automatically issue commands. I wonder if we can, let me see if I have it. I'm going to try to run it on this machine. So we've got this, we've got AMCAP in the background. So right now, I should be able to get this phone just to interact with my computer. Like if I say reboot into recovery or reboot into bootloader, I should be able, like, this is the Hasoon kit running all the commands that I would normally need. It restarts the ADB daemon, it issues the right blah, blah, blah. Blam, the phone just rebooted for me, and it should throw up the bootloader screen in a second. So we're in the bootloader now. And right now, it already did me in fastboot, because it says, hey, you've got fastboot on your system. Let's see if I want to get this phone's token. Again, just go, bam. Issue some ADB commands, it's going to throw a fastboot hit. Bloom, there you go. There's the token unique to this phone, and all you have to do is copy it correctly. This is the hardest step right here for most people.
Everybody copies the info.
Yeah, you don't copy info block, you just copy the block of text separate from the side. And once you have that, like I could copy it from here if I wanted to, you'll paste that into that browser page that you saw. You're still on the HTC site, you paste that in, they're going to send you an email. A few minutes later, bloop, you got this little binary file, which VLC wants to play, I don't know why. You could, and then there's more steps, like on the HTC site, they're like, use fastboot this, use the other thing that, nope, you just say, where's my all-in-one kit? With that little folder called data. Throw the file you just got into data and be like, what's the next step? Unlock my phone, crunch, and it'll just throw up more commands automatically for you. Now, right now, remember your phone initially, if you looked up at the top, your phone was locked. Run the commands, it'll actually throw a whole GUI environment. Let's see if we can do this too. So here's our phone, we're still in fastboot. I've already submitted my token because that would just launch a web page. So now I've got the token back, let's unlock the bootloader. It's gonna issue this. The phone should probably launch an automatic environment. Yay, it could not be simpler. The joke we were trying to tell the other day, do you remember there was an old Simpsons episode where Homer winds up in like a Harrier jet that he's stealing? And there's like, God, no, it was Sideshow Bob, right? God bless the idiot-proof military. Green button, go, red button, no. And he was like, boop, fly the plane. That is literally the environment that HTC gives you. It's, do you want to, yes, unlock. Wow, it's not that idiot-proof. We have a one-button demo and it doesn't want to go. That's pretty epic. Yeah, it's probably, yeah. So you guys know, by the way, anytime you have a device that doesn't like to, be touched in the right way, it's usually, they're all just set to, like, if you ever have a phone that's wet, you just turn the display off, turn it back on, it's a static discharge problem. But that would literally be how it would work. I'll try it again when it boots up in a while, but that's the most epic demo fail ever. One click, motherfuckers, can't happen. But that would be it. You'd say, yes, I do want to unlock my phone. This is why, please, everybody, this is why you screenshot and video your shit. This is how a demo is supposed to fucking go.
Hey, it worked this year.
So reboot into bootloader. Boop. Go away. We'll try it one more time, and if it doesn't go, hey, it doesn't go.
I did,
Yeah.
but he rebooted it too quick.
Oh, is it not? It's not a touch environment for there, is it?
No, you just use
use
the volume key.
button.
Yeah.
Awesome. I am awesome. Which it probably says that right on the screen, doesn't it?
I don't know.
Awesome. Yeah, fuck reading. Really? Who's reading?
If I actually read the manual, I probably wouldn't have bricked anywhere near as many phones as I have.
Right. But how many have you ever bricked beyond repair?
0.
Right.
So, and that's actually one of the reasons why we started thinking about doing this talk at all, was just to get people over the fear of bricking your phone, because you can soft brick it or you can hard brick it. If you hard brick it, you're screwed and you're going to have to go buy a new phone. But if you just soft brick it, you can recover from it really pretty easily. I mean, like, it will drive you nuts for a few minutes while you're trying to figure out what you did and how to fix it, but...
Oh, it's too bright, too bright. I don't know if you can see that. I actually, when I was picking up the phone, I did hit it without trying to. So it is unlocked, and anytime, that little pink banner switches, if it says unlocked right here, you are so golden. That is the hardest part of the process right there. Clicking on the right thing, apparently. But yeah, once you get to this point, it's very hard for any of the future steps to go awry. Hence, the next badass thing you're going to do. Now you're allowed to stomp all over the phone and change it from what HTC had. You're going to change your recovery image. Do you want to talk about the recovery system? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to use Clockwork Mod, again, like Deviant was saying. There may be something else that somebody has found somewhere that's better, but I don't know what it is. Clockwork Mod's really freaking awesome. I mean, it again kind of makes it idiot-proof for you on your phone once you're into. Are you going into the recovery?
No, yeah.
Cool. Basically, you'll see it's got. By the way, you're going to have to use those buttons on the side.
I'm holding it. I'm holding it.
But you'll see, you actually really do. It kind of steps through, what do I want to do? I want to install a new ROM. I want to make a backup of my current ROM. And then before it lets you screw up, it'll ask you, are you sure you really want to do this? And you have to kind of scroll down to, through all these no's to get to the yes. So
it's always the seventh one down, too.
Yeah,
it's not randomized. But yeah, like you could manually push. There's plenty of ways. Back before any awesome shit existed, it was basically you tricking the phone into accidentally overwriting the recovery area by, changing it to something else. And some of these were just complete exploits, blatantly. And others were, no, if you can get into developer mode, you ADB push and overwrite this and that. There's whole command sets to do it, or if you're running Hassoon's tool, all you just like, flash recovery, goodbye. And even so, they have Clockwork Mod built in, or there's a space for your own. If you have your own, that's fine too. So this is the recovery environment, and we'll see it on the screen in a little bit when I finish rebooting. It's straightforward. It's incredibly powerful. All the different things you can do. You can wipe your cache out, which we'll talk about that later if you want. If you're fucking things up, a lot of times clear the cache.
Yeah.
Or wipe the whole system first.
Yeah, typically if you're going to install a new ROM on your phone, you're going to want to do actually both those. You're going to want to start with a wipe and then wipe the cache. That will reduce your odds of soft bricking the phone significantly.
Yeah, because almost all of the install new ROM, install new whatever, it's really just unpacking a zip file and using a lot of metadata in that zip file to push out all these system files where they belong. But the generic situation of doing it, it doesn't overwrite, it doesn't erase before it just pushes out. So that's how, small updates, like, oh, here's ROM version 7, and now it's ROM version 7.1 update. Well, it'll just kind of push out some new things on top. But if you have a complete stock environment and you try to push a custom ROM on top of it, it's just going to clobber a lot of different settings, and it's not going to know what to do, and the phone will usually just reboot forever and not know how to start. But yeah, that's because you didn't wipe first, basically. So your parents taught you it's important to wipe, right? So here we see one of the other environments. Ooh, what is this doing? Go back. Yay, I don't know why you're choosing languages. Next. Oh, we'll do that later. It's always fun to see what's going to happen when a phone just starts starting. Do you want to change your calendar settings? Because, we've been wiping and pushing things. So this is an example of just, yes, I want to reboot now. I want to install zips. I want to, change things around. The best thing ever in any good recovery hack is Nandroid. Nandroid is an open standard. It's just basically a zip packaging with some metadata. All of them support Nandroid, which is like basically Ghost for your phone. Anybody ever use like Ghost on their PCs? You've built a bunch of fucking network, you just push out a Ghost image, or you got students. How many people ever worked at a school? Yeah, oh yeah, you fucking use Ghost, haven't you? It's like, oh God, I don't know what kind of Facebook porn farm game this is, but Ghost, all right, here you go. And invariably, when they get there, like, oh, it's working again. Where's my face farm porn? Not my problem. Nandroid, your phone. This is when people are afraid of like, oh, I'm going to lose the ninja-iness of my phone because I want to like sit alone with it at night and just kind of touch myself and be like, I was there. You Nandroid that crap. We all made a backup of our original Ninja version, which doesn't do much once you're off the Ninja network.
Yeah, I mean, the only real functional apps on the Ninja phone other than theirs are the phone and messaging. And like we've talked, their messaging app sucked. I mean, it's like the worst messaging app ever. It's the one thing that we totally did not put on our ROM. We're like, no, I don't want their messaging version at all.
Well, it looked kind of neat.
It does look neat, but it's just not very functional.
So yeah, Nandroid your stuff often. All you need is, space on your SD card. By the way, here's an interesting thing. If you're a person like me, I sort all my data a lot. So when Nandroid runs, it'll create a new directory with the date and the timestamp. That's the name of the directory. And I was like, I'll rename hyphen first time booting, then this one, hyphen some apps installed. Ooh, new version of this, because I have all these crazy, I can roll back a lot. Don't put spaces in the file names. The file system is fine with spaces all over an Android. You can have all your spaces all you want, but Nandroid will not understand. And Nandroid will say failed on restore failed, and you're like, oh God, all my backups are corrupted. No, don't put spaces. That's the thing I started doing, and I shouldn't do that. So once you're here, installing a new ROM, installing a whole new environment is now the easiest thing ever. It's really, it's not an OS install. It really is just push, boom, you're done.
Well, and the cool thing is with Clockwork, using that as your recovery, all you have to do is just put the zip file onto an SD card and put it in the phone, and it will install right off there. I mean, there is no work involved in doing it.
That was what Romer was telling you earlier, that no, yes, this is what I want. You just have to scroll and find it. So I want to install a new OS. Okay, blam. Finding this. Are you sure? Yes. So you see this is the My Ninja 1V ROM. This is the hacked ROM that has the original HTC look, but is also full of Ninja components. Yes, I want to go for it. You find the zip, boom. After it reboots itself, this is the new Ninja phone environment that these guys all have. It's gorgeous. It looks like a stock HTC phone, but if you pull up the app drawer, you'll see there's Ninja apps. They're still in there. And you could still, they're working on, tell them about you're trying to build the backbone to play the game, right?
Some guys at 303 are actually trying right now to build a backbone so that we can use the Ninja game. And we also are going to push the files out, so if anybody wants to put the Ninja ROM or just the Ninja apps onto a different phone, you'll have access to them. We'll see. I mean, there's a lot of work involved in getting that to work, and it's not anybody's job. So, it may be one of those projects that never gets out of beta. But we are actually going to try and do it and see if we can make it work.
So while we've been doing this, I pushed the new ROM back out through recovery. So you can see, this looks like a stock HTC, but if we flip through, like Game Launcher, Ninja Chat, they're all, oh, Ninja Chat is stopped. Well, that's because that service is not there. Where's the game? That's still in there somewhere, right? Does that work?
Yeah, it's Game Launcher.
So yeah, this is still, a Ninja-like phone. And if I were to go ahead and shut this down, you'll see they preserved all of the, I'm going to go back to recovery here. That's also nice. They preserved the ability to boot into recovery manually. But they kept all the ninja-ness of the phone. And it's made me second guess what I've done with my phone. I might wind up doing this because it's pretty goddamn hot. I run a non-stock ROM. I run something called CyanogenMod, and of the Android hierarchy of stuff, this is the top, everyone kind of likes it replacement mod. It's the largest community-driven ROM that you can get. It has a ton of user support. There's threads all over the damn place. The Cyanogen crew, and it's basically like one guy and his set of like friend programmers. They support more devices than anything else I've ever seen. Even really wicked old devices.
And they do daily updates.
Yeah, they update the shit constantly. So if there's something you wish you had, you're like, oh man, I wish Cyanogen had this. Like, there's probably a thread where 3 other people want it, and then a week later, all of a sudden it's there. The main reason I love Cyanogen Mod is permission hacking. So here's like a simple app that I use to track gas mileage, because all my vehicles are trucks and Jeeps and things that suck gas mileage. And if you scroll through it, like this is under System Settings, Applications, where you would normally uninstall an app or check its data usage. You scroll down, and you'll see, well, what are the permissions? And you might have spotted these when you were installing an app. And you can actually show extended permissions, and you're like, wow, this is a bunch of shit I really don't think this needs. I'm just logging some data to my SD card. Where I am, you can fuck right off. I don't want you to know that. Cyanogen allows you to just go tap, tap, tap. You can cross out certain permissions and not others. So you can selectively deny apps what they're allowed to do on your phone and what you're not allowed to do. Here's like a free, bike game. Free games, dude. Check out what they're actually doing on your phone. There's a lot of stuff they hook into. They all want to talk to the internet half the time to display ads. Here, this is actually tying to the market building service, which maybe to me, that means they might pull the free version one day if it gets popular enough, or nerf it, or do something to it. Fuck you in the ass. Boom, 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 boom. All I want is to keep the screen on when I'm playing this game. That's all. You don't get to do anything else. If other versions of ROMs started to do this, I would switch a lot more. Pretty much every one of my Android devices is running Cyanogen for this reason. It's a way more stripped down ROM. It doesn't come. It has like a lot of features, but you saw that stock HTC environment has the big clock widget and all the other loopy-doopy backgrounds. Cyanogen's not about that. It's about you build it up yourself to do what you want, but it's kind of the Slackware, I guess, of like Android ROMs.
Yeah. My biggest problem, I'm using the stock HTC with our stuff on it, and I tried putting Cyanogen on, not this phone, but on my Galaxy, and I had it for like a day. I'm like, all right, all the crap I actually like to do is gone from this. It's a little bit too stripped down for me, so I didn't enjoy it. But I think it's a matter of personal preference. This is cool, and being able to do this is awesome. But the flip side of it is I actually like using the App Store.
Mm-hmm. So. I hear you. To each his own. I didn't like that when I pushed Cyanogen on my Ninja phone, I didn't have the Ninja startup logo anymore, so I tried tweaking the Cyanogen logo, so it's actually a red animated little Ninja man. We included that, when we were talking on the forums. You can do a lot of cool hacking and pushing of other components of your phone if you have certain apps on there. So we're just going to oh, by the way, this was the recovery, hacked recovery environment. If we wanted to wipe anything, push anything out. I wish it was auto-focusing a little better for you, but you can play. We'll hang out in the bar area after this is done. We had Lady Merlin's phone. We haven't done Banshee's yet. If you want us to do your phone or you want to do it with us, sit in the bar with us, and then that'll be the straight-through demo. But so far, everything's just working, other than my buttonness. Like, this worked pretty good. So we're going to tell you about other stuff once you're in the environment you want to be in, ways you can do this, ways you can tweak it around further. My favorite thing to put on any phone immediately, in fact, if it's not on a phone, I kind of like, I can't, what do you do? It's like when you sit at someone's computer and they don't have the right browser that you want, you're like, oh God, let me download this right away. Root Explorer, or frankly, any file explorer, any file manager that gives you full write access to all over the file system. What's the one? Is EX?
ES File Explorer.
File Explorer.
That's the one that I like using.
Which comes with, apparently, that stock image, right?
Yeah, it's on the stock image. The other thing that I think is really cool is the IDE. You've got the Java IDE on the phone so that you can write your own apps on the device, which was, it's kind of a neat thing to be able to do right there on the phone. I mean, unless you suck at Java like me, but...
Yeah, but I love that anytime, you can see the EX Explorer Rome was showing me, you have to go through some menus, and it's like, you're about to do this thing, right? You understand, you're mounting system with write access. Not Root Explorer. Root Explorer is like, there's your button. Plop. Yeah. You can now erase everything.
Yeah, ES File Explorer makes it so that you have to intentionally go and allow access to the root of the file system, basically, so you can get out of just the SD card mount.
But for instance, you know, you can see browser.apk. That's the stock Android browser. I just kind of disable it by renaming it, so then I don't have to get a pop-up every now and then with, do you want to use this browser? I know you can set a default, but sometimes, like the browser you have, I think I'm running Opera on my phones. If you're in a captive portal that screws up and you just want the default browser because a pop-up isn't working, it's annoying to turn off that application default setting because every stupid push refresh link, it pops that again, and you're like, no, browser. This way I can just turn one off and it just doesn't exist from the phone temporarily. It's nice. And this, of course, if you want to push new boot animations, if you want to reinstall media, ringtones, you can push all that shit into system. So whether your SD card is there or not, the phone will behave the way you're expecting it.
Yeah, and actually that's one of the things that if there is any reason to root your phone, it's to get rid of all the bloat. You know, because you can't do that. There's so many applications that ships with a standard phone that...
How many people have ever used the Blockbuster app? Really? Because I'm told there used to be a store called Blockbuster where you would get like videos on like a media that you had to like put in your bag.
Impossible.
I don't know if apparently. But yeah, that kind of crap.
Well,
what?
AT&T has all kinds of shit that they put on the phones. Every one of the phones that they sell, except for the stupid iPhone, they have so much of their AT&T crap on there that you can't uninstall. And so that it's nice to be able to just go in and literally RM that shit.
Similar to that, in terms of just killing processes and seeing what's really running for what reason, is System Panel. These are both, they once were free apps, Root Explorer and System Panel. I don't know if they still are. I still have the free versions. They're part of that software package, and if you download the zip, like they're all going to be in there. So not only can you kill what is running, you can monitor why things are running at different levels. If you want to get heavy into system logging, you can check your battery life and your activity and your processor over time, and you can start saying, well, I turned off all this other crap. Let me look at the graph from 3 days ago versus now. Wow, that's a big difference. So yeah, I think it's basically the nicest overall system manager tool that I've ever used. KeePass. How many of you no longer remember half your passwords, just like you no longer remember your lover's phone numbers because they're all in a software package that you can use all the time? KeePass, man. If you don't know what fucking KeePass is, your passwords are probably weak, or you're using the same one for every bullshit web cart checkout. All my passwords are like 75 words long, and they're all jumble. And I don't care, because it's all in KeePass. There's KeePass for Android, so that when you're actually like at a con, and how many of us really bring our laptops anymore unless you're speaking? You can just, oh man, I don't even know my ATM pins, because they're all 17 fucking digits or whatever I can support. And they're all in KeePass. But whatever, I'm just like, all right, let me type this 19,000 word password at least once, which is a fun thing to do. And then once that's up, yay, all my KeePass is there. It's awesome. Groove IP is one other thing I like to mention. It is a really interesting and hacky VoIP tool, because many people, if you have the HTC Ninja phone, maybe your original phone like you usually use is Sprint, or maybe you have an iPhone, unfortunately, so you have a micro SIM, which, you know, the micro SIM adapter is what?
A quarter.
Yeah, a quarter. Get a micro SIM adapter, you can put it in here.
Actually, technically 24 cents, but...
But if you just like, oh wow, I did this thing on my Ninja phone, what do I do with it now? If you have Google Voice, install Groove IP. It is a paid app. It's the only app I've ever seen that might cost more than $1. I think it's $2.99. But it'll tunnel, Google Voice will technically Google Talk traffic through your phone and through Google Voice's phone bank system. So people calling your Google number, it'll push that as essentially a Google Talk call to this environment that looks just like the Android dialer. So your phone will just ring as if it's a regular phone call. And if you want to call somebody and you hit send, it will tunnel that back through to Google's side, and then they'll push it out on the regular phone network. So I used to buy SIM cards wherever I traveled. I don't anymore. I just get on any kind of Wi-Fi, turn on Groove IP, and then my phone is like, it thinks it's just here by itself here. It's a little twitchy. I mean, we call each other a lot, and half the time they'll be like, is there like an echo? I'll be like, hang on, I'll call you right back. There you go, it's fine.
There's also SipDroid too, which is free, and not as twitchy.
Yeah, you have to understand how to set up a SIP server and such.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder as far as setup goes. You have to actually do some work on it other than just install an app for $2.99, but it actually does work really well. It's totally free, and you can use, same deal, Google Voice over Wi-Fi. It's VoIP. So.
And SIP's been around forever. It's really clean sounding. It works very nicely. Ad-free, I just fucking love it because if you have a bunch of like kids or whatever and they play games, it's just a host file blocker. So your host file gets huge and all these things get routed to local hosts, so most ads don't load. It's really nice. Calendar pad, if you actually do use your phone for work, the stock calendar sucks. But if you want all the colors and all the everything the way you expect to see your Google Calendar, calendar pad is nice. ConnectBot. Oh man, you can praise ConnectBot. We all could.
It's the first app that I always download. You know, an SSH client. It's every phone that I've ever had when I've rebuilt the ROM or whatever. The first thing I get is ConnectBot. Then.
Yeah. Rogue, how many of your devices have ConnectBot that you can just do all your work from?
All of them.
Yeah, I'm sure. I see her, you know, she's on IRC, she's doing this, she's managing all the servers. Oh God, I got an email that this thing is whatever, just fucking tunnel right into it, SSH shell, done. Oh, I fixed that. Never take your laptop out, basically again. And it's a really neat tool in the sense that they've taken what are now fully touch devices, don't even have hard keyboards, and they give you, they're like, the first thing that launches when you launch it, it's a step-by-step of how to do crazy command this and this and that. They've really put thought into it.
Yeah, so like if you use screen, then you need to know how to control AD out and disconnect, and so yeah, you can set up take their defaults, or you can set up your own custom for how you want control to be. I mean, I probably should. Is my boss sitting here? Yeah, I totally did a red team from a nudie bar using my fucking phone. So.
That's not recorded or anything.
That's right.
And then Ghost Commander. Like, I actually, we joked once. We said, how many people ever intentionally, you were like, how many people ever really use Midnight Commander?
Yeah.
You're actually just trying to type,
You're trying to type MV and you accidentally typed MC, and that's the only time that you even realized Midnight Commander existed.
So yeah, if you remember the old, double view Midnight Commander from Linux, Ghost Commander exists. It's an app but the nice thing about it is the tie-ins with other remote storage. So you can link it to FTP sites. I use it for Samba shares. I can sit at my house before I'm about to leave to I gotta go do this thing. Oh, I wanted to put that movie on my phone, but I don't want to go upstairs and plug it in. Oh yeah, I can bloop bloop. There we go. I drag shit off the network and it just transfers over. It's really, really nice. There's all kind of Wi-Fi managing tools that you can get more and more detailed with. I like Wi-Fi Manager because it's just a little nicer than the stock, Wi-Fi view. You have Wi-Fi Analyzer. People are getting more and more into, as you say, you can really do pen tests just from a phone nowadays. It's really, really nice. Look at the spectrum here, by the way, that you pull. He went to do a screenshot at the bar the other day.
Yeah, that was the bar here yesterday afternoon. The number of bogus wireless networks that were here was just insane.
Yeah. I like the Boobies network. That was, a good one. And of course, for those of you who are coming from, let's say you're an iPhone user on AT&T, and they just love to shove something in every one of your holes whenever you want to do something fun with your phone. Free tethering galore. This may be your first time ever experiencing the fact that you don't have to alert your provider or tell them fuck all about the fact that you're going to tether through your phone. It gets very, very easy in an Android environment if you've never done it. Sometimes, almost always, I think you need root to do this.
Yeah, you have to have root to do it.
Just to get it to warn the first time or for every time? I don't know. I think it has to set the card. It depends how you're broadcasting. It depends if you're trying to make yourself in infrastructure mode or ad hoc mode. Various programs like these are twitchy. Some of them work well. A lot of them don't. But if you find one that works, and there's one in the stock ROM, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and it even supports WPA, apparently.
Yes.
Which a lot of them don't. Yeah, so nice, very nice. So yeah, you can, if you've never tethered to your phone before, like maybe you've been staying at a luxury posh hotel and they think they're supposed to charge you for internet, because that happens sometimes. There was a great traveler alert for it, somebody was the top bitching, things about staying in hotels, and It's like location of outlets is one, and stupid TV controls that don't work. And the top one is always from every business traveler, like, how come this $500 a night place hasn't figured out to provide something that Starbucks can when I'm buying a $3 coffee? So yeah, fuck any of Wi-Fi fees ever again. Google Apps, not always part of a stock ROM.
Well, yeah, but I mean, this is if you use the Android Marketplace, the Play Store, whatever the hell they call it now, then if it's not part of a stock ROM, you can actually just download Google Apps. It's G Apps is the name of it. Just download it and install the APK on your phone, and then you'll have access to all the Google Apps, even if you've chosen to use a ROM that doesn't support them officially.
Yeah, it's because they're not officially redistributable. So sometimes the community delivered ROMs like Cyanogen, you'll see like new Cyanogen is out here, does not have maps and market, and then you go to some sketchy rapid share link and you get the gapps.zip that somebody has published recently, and you push that out. It's just part of the custom ROM community that we have to deal with. So that's totally simple, right? This was not a hard fucking process. If you think you're like, oh man, I don't know if I ever could really do that on my phone, hopefully we wanted this talk to not be super elite, because it's not. It's really that simple.
I mean, it's actually kind of funny because Boris, when he was asking what the talk was about, and I said about the Ninja phone, the first thing he said was, how the hell are you going to talk for an hour about that? And because we could have probably done this 50 times since we've been up here standing. That's how quick the process is. Mm-hmm. So we just had to put some extra bloat in there like AT&T.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, yeah, all the stuff we talked about, you can read the forum thread. Romer put a great guide together. It's been republished. Hackajar and some other people put images in. But all the guide, it's all step by step. If you didn't want to listen to us, you just catch this later on. All this stuff I've been talking about, that little flash drive, that if you want to grab us later in the bar, all the materials are there. They're also in a zip file. That animation's up there. And much like with everything else, there's forums upon forums.
Seriously, though, let me get a show of hands. Is anybody actually going to trust this USB drive? You, sir? You trust it?
All right. He's got super lockdown mode.
I can say that it is not. It's not bad, but I wouldn't trust that from me or from you.
Probably not. But yeah, if you want to learn more on your own, there's a billion Android forums, and they follow that same kind of hierarchy, where the top one is XDA developers. And all the little secondary forums, usually half the threads turn into people talking, people saying, I think, didn't some guy do this? And somebody's like, yeah, it's on this thread, XDA, thread closed. And it's all there. It's the best place to be if you really want to get into it. There's a lot you can try, and it's really hard to fuck up so badly that you're not going to get out of it. Don't be afraid to try this shit. I got really bold one day with my first device, and ever since then I was like, why doesn't everyone do this? It's fun.
Well, and it actually is a lot of fun, especially when you first start doing it, and it's like you didn't realize what you were kind of missing by not playing with your phones and not opening up all the actual capability that it has. And then once you do, you're like, holy crap, I would never have an unrooted phone.
If you ever actually damage your phone and you have to send it back to the manufacturer because they give you a fresh one, you're like, take it out of the box. You're like, nice, screen's not cracked. Oh, shit, I got nothing to do for the next half hour because I got to change this because the stock phone just doesn't work for you anymore. So, yeah, is that about it? I think that does it.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing that I'll say is specifically about the micro SIM on the iPhone. Seriously, if you have one of these Ninja phones and you are an iPhone user, give it a try. It's worth the 24 cents. The first thing I said about the Ninja phone when they gave them out was if we could get one person to get away from a shitty ass iPhone, then it was totally worth all the money they spend on their party.
Hell yeah. Right on. Carrier IQ? That's a little bit beyond like the 4 minutes we got left, I think, here, isn't it? I can tell you this: Cyanogen is the Cyanogen mod community specifically issued a statement saying Carrier IQ has never been part of our ROM and will never be part of our ROM. And if you want to know why it's bad and what it does, it's just super tracking details that your carrier can dump a lot of. It's supposed to be for debugging, like, oh, if the user says their phone is doing all this, well, look at their Carrier IQ dump and see what's actually happening.
And our modded stock ROM does not have Carrier IQ either. Fact is, I don't remember if I put it on there or not. But there's a carrier IQ detector. I think we put it on the ROM so that you can actually check it yourself. But if not, you can download it. But yeah.
Google Carrier IQ if you want to dislike the mobile industry a little more, I guess. But any other questions? No? All right. Thank you and/or fuck off.